Hello. Oh, I knocked the camera. Let's make sure we're still... Okay, there we go. Alright, hi guys. I had some requests to finish off this little scene that I started the other day. So, very quickly, we're going to start doing that, coloring up the pumpkins and a few other things. I'm going to start with the pumpkins. And I am using Y38, YR04, YR18, and E19. And I start with my lightest, the E38. And we established the other day that our moon is sending our light source, even though it's technically behind her, and it wouldn't really be that way in real life. But we're playing with it that the light, since the moon is on this side, the light's coming down from that side. So I'm just going to work on the side that's further away from our light source, laying in the color. Just getting that on there. And with the pumpkins, I'm also going to kind of play that the tops would be lighter than, say, the bottom, because the pumpkin is rounding down on itself, so it would be darker down at the bottom as well. But we definitely want to get these sides where a little darker there, and then come up. And the little witch Brigitta is also going to be casting a shadow, so we can't forget that. And get down here. That's all going to be shadow. Okay, and then this side, this is going to be pulling up from the bottom, because that moon's kind of falling right above this guy. So most of our light, it's not going to be left or right on this guy, it's going to be up above. So just pull up on this guy. And underneath her, casting another shadow. Okay. Now we go to the YR04. And we are just spinning our image so I can pull towards me. And I'm laying the color right on top of that Y38, just not pulling it in quite as far as I did the first time. Come up from the bottom on here. Get those shadows. All underneath her will be dark. Okay, and then this guy's pulling up from the bottom instead of left and right, because that moon's right above him. Get that shadow there. Now I'm going to go to my YR18. And this is where we're going to start seeing our really defined shadows. Just kind of pull towards myself so that we get that illusion of it, you know, being the three-dimensional object that's rounded and kind of wrapping around on itself. Pull a little bit. Give ourselves some fuzzy lines to blend with, so we don't have like harsh lines we're trying to blend at the end. Okay, get the shadows underneath her. There. All down here. And then pulling up from the bottom. Just not quite as far. Get that little crease though, so we have that defined section on the pumpkin, whatever those are called. I don't know. Okay, now here again, it's going to be like my reds yesterday, with going on a dark orange like this, and it's also an organic material. You know, it's a plant. I go with a little bit of E19. It's an earth tone, one of the browns, one of the redder browns. It works just as well. It's not as dark as the E18 that I used yesterday, but works really just as well with the oranges as it does with the reds. And it just, you know, gives it a little bit more earthiness. Of course, it's an earth tone. But I think it's just a nice way to richen up the color by adding a little bit of the brown there. Get it down there underneath her. Okay, and then just a little bit at the bottoms down here. Pull up along that groove or whatever it's called on the pumpkin. Get a little bit here. Along that groove there. Okay. Now I'm just going to work my way back down with the YR18. This is where we're blending everything together. I'm just pulling right from over top. A little further in towards the bottom, just because that top is going to be tapering up. On the pumpkin. Okay. Now to our YR04. In a little bit further. And then our last color. Starting to fill in that white that we left. Okay. And then finish it off with our Y38. It's a yellow, but it's got a lot of orange to it, but it just is a nice way to really brighten up any orange object that you're coloring. I really use it quite a bit. And I'm not going down between that section between her legs because I want that to be darker than the rest of this that's out here getting hit by the moonlight. Okay. There I've got some finished orange part of the pumpkins. So now I'm going to move on to the leaves on this leaf on the pumpkin up here, which I'm going to do green. I'm using the YG63. And again, I'm just paying attention to what's farthest away from that moon. That's our light source. Putting the lightest color on here. To YG67. Just getting that color on. And to G29. And these, you know, it's kind of, you know, a cartoony looking image, and we're not making it super realistic, so we're just getting that color there real quick. Blend it all together with our lightest, the YG63. Okay. Looks good. Now I'm going to do, let's do the sunflowers down here, and I'm actually going to grab back the Y38 that we used on the pumpkins. I'm going to start though with Y13. And I'm just going to start filling in the color on these petals. Oh, it looks like I missed some orange on the pumpkin now that I'm down here playing. I have to go back in and hit right in here. I missed that the first time. Okay. Now I go to Y35. Laying in this shaded area. Everything that's kind of, again, farthest away from our moon. Now to our Y38, since it's a sunflower, we're going a really orangey yellow. It's just going to keep with the fall look nicely. There. Okay. Working back down. Just little hits. Because I just want that at the end. The 11 is just going to be there mostly to brighten these two colors up just a smidge. I don't want it super light. And then the Y13, just blending them together, finishing that off. And it's going to help by bringing in the 13, separate it from the pumpkin a bit better too. Okay. And I'm going to go back in, finish that pumpkin because it's bothering me. So I'm going to just, it's going to be dark down here like it was between her legs. So just getting those colors back in there. The same order that I did the first time. Finishing it with the E. Getting a really nice dark shadow down there. And I'm not even going to bother blending all the way back down. I think I will just use our YR04 to kind of blend it a bit. Okay. Now that this has had time to dry, I can see, you know, it's not a super smooth. I got a pretty defined line there. So go back in while I'm at it, while I have the markers out, and pull again. And just give us one more chance to shade, just to play with the blending a bit. The YR04. This should help smooth it all out and give us a nice, pretty, rounded look. And our 38, Y38. Whee. Okay. We'll fix this little guy too. Blend him up a bit with our YR18 and around this way to the YR04. And finish off with the Y38. That should help get us a nice smooth round pumpkin up there. Okay. So now I've got a few stems on my pumpkins, and I'm just using E55, E57, E59, Easy Color Family because they're all automatically grouped together. Just working away from the moon there. 59. Just a hint of it for the shadow. And as small as that area is, I'm skipping the 57 and just using my 55 to blend them all together. Okay. Now I've also got some leaves back here. And they're kind of going to be our dry, crunchy fall leaves. So, like this one, I'm just going to put some of the E55 on there. Just kind of play there. Totally experimenting with this. And let's put some Y38 with this guy. And let's try our Y13. I'm just pulling all those colors that I've already used with the flowers and such, and so we'll see what we get. And then let's make this middle one a little bit more green, like she came from a, and so we'll blend out here with our YG63. I'll probably go in and add a little bit more brown on that, and let's put a little bit of our Y13 on this guy too. These leaves are just all about changing for the season. We'll see what we get. Not done this before, but it's looking like it might work. And this one we'll add a little bit of YR04 over top of that brown. Okay, and go Y35. And I'm going to finish the edges with a Y13 on this one. Nice and bright. Okay. I'm going to let those dry and we'll see if we need to add any other colors, but they're not looking too shabby. They're kind of cool, kind of like they're turning for the season. Okay, I forgot when I had my browns out for the stems, we're going to use the browns for the middle of those sunflowers too. And I'm just laying down a base of the E55 on these two guys. And I'm going to get some E57 on here. And I'm actually going to go back with my 55 and kind of blend those two together, because we want it to have that kind of spotted look of the seeds in the middle of the sunflower. Then I'm going to take my darkest, the E59, and just with the tip, I'm going to start dotting in where along that, especially the darker side, where our shadows would be heaviest. Group them a lot closer together, and then just further spaced up where we want it lighter. Add some dots up there as well. So tight grouping of dots down here. Technical term is pointillism, for anybody wondering. Big art movement with the Impressionists. And then we'll do further spaced out here. And that just gives you that cool texture that the seeds would be creating in the middle of the flowers. Okay, so I'm not going to do anything to those leaves. I like how they look. I like how the colors are kind of that blotchy, mottled look that you get with the fall leaves. So now we're just going to finish the whole thing off by doing the moon real quick. And I'm going to use Y000, Y00, and the blender pen. And even though, you know, there's no direction really, the moon, I'm going to start laying the color down on this side, because by leaving the area closest to her the whitest, that's going to kind of trick the eye, that's the brighter, the lightest part